My world is bounded by four walls, the scent of old pine and the unspoken pity in my father's eyes. The howls that echo from the forest deep in the night are not for me. They are for the strong, the swift, the whole. I am Alara, the crippled Omoga daughter of a low-ranking pack member, and my only view of the wider world is from this window. My legs a silent testament to a childhood accident that stole not just my mobility, but my future. Today, the air tastes different. It crackles with a tense energy that even I can feel from my secluded room. The pack is buzzing like a disturbed hive. Whispers slither under my door, words like royal decree and selection. I try to ignore them, focusing on the book in my lap, but the words blur. My heart, traitorous thing, gives a feeble thump of something that feels dreadfully like hope. I crush it immediately. Hope is a luxury for those who can run from their mistakes. The door to my chamber creaks open without a knock. My father, Kyle, stands there, his broad shoulders slumped. The usual gentle sadness in his eyes is replaced by a storm of conflict. "Ilara," he says, his voice rough. "The Lycan King. He has sent out a summons to all packs." I wait, my fingers tightening on the book's spine. My father's gaze drops to the woven blanket over my legs, and a flush of familiar shame heats my cheeks. "And what does that have to do with me?" I ask, my tone deliberately flat, shielding the flicker inside. He steps fully into the room, closing the door. The sound is terribly final. The decree states that the king seeks a bondmate, not through strength, but through a compatibility of spirit. A representative from every family, of age, is to be presented for the king's consideration. His words are heavy, each one dragged from him. Every family, Alara. The silence that follows is deafening. It swallows the distant howls, the rustle of leaves outside. He cannot mean it. They would never parade me, the broken one, before the mighty Lycan King. It would be an insult, a joke. "You want to present me?" The question is a whisper, laced with disbelief and a sharp sting of humiliation. "It is not a matter of want," he says, pain etched into every line of his face. "It is the law of the summons. To refuse is to defy the crown directly. It would mean banishment, or worse." He kneels before my chair, his calloused hands covering mine. They are trembling. "I would never subject you to ridicule, my heart, but I have no choice. We must go through the motions. You will be presented, and then you will be passed over, as is expected. We will return home. It will be a brief, unpleasant formality." A formality, a ceremonial rejection. The hope I'd thought I'd crushed withers completely, leaving a cold, hollow ache. Of course, this isn't an opportunity, it's a mandatory embarrassment. I look into my father's eyes and see his own helpless anguish. He is bound, just as I am bound to this chair, by duty, by fear, by the unyielding laws of our kind. "So I am to be your sacrifice to obedience?" I murmur, pulling my hands from his. The emotion in my voice is a bitter resignation, a quiet surrender to a fate that has always been mine, to be a spectator of life, never a participant. The journey to the king's citadel is a blur of jostling carriage rides and overwhelming sensations. I keep the curtain drawn, but the scents bombard me, the musk of dozens of unfamiliar wolves, the sharp tang of anxiety, the cloying sweetness of ambition from other omegas and betas being presented. I hear their laughter, light and practiced, their confident strides. I feel the weight of their stares when I am carried from the carriage to a small, sparse antechamber to await my turn. Their eyes are not cruel, just dismissive. I am a ghost already. When the massive, ornate doors to the grand hall swing open for me, the wave of power that rolls out is so potent it steals my breath. The air is thick with the presence of alphas, and at the far end, on a throne of obsidian and moonstone, is him, King Theron. Even from this distance, his presence is an anchor, pulling at every latent instinct inside me. He is not what I expected. His expression is not of arrogant scrutiny, but of profound, weary isolation. His eyes, the color of a storm-racked sky, scan the room with a disinterest that feels like its own kind of wall. My father wheels me forward, the squeak of the wheels horribly loud on the stone floor. A ripple of muted whispers follows our path. I keep my chin up, my hands folded tightly in my lap, focusing on a point just above the king's shoulder. I will not look at him. I will not give him the satisfaction of seeing my shame. We stop before the dais. My father bows deeply. I can only dip my head, my body a prison of stillness. The hall falls silent. Kyle of the Pinefall Pack and his daughter, the Omega Alara. My gaze lands on me. It is a physical weight, warm and unsettling. It doesn't feel like judgment. It feels like searching. The silence stretches, thin and taut. Then he speaks. His voice is deep, a resonant rumble that vibrates in my very bones. An omega, he states, the word neither a question nor an insult. Tell me, Alara, what do you see from your window? The question is so utterly unexpected, so disconnected from any notion of strength or lineage, that my head jerks up. Our eyes meet. His stormy gaze holds mine, and in that moment I forget the crowd, forget my legs, forget everything. The emotion that floods me isn't fear, but a startling, profound clarity. He asked a real question. My voice, when it comes, is soft but clear, carrying in the hushed hall. I see the shadow of the great pine at dawn, tracing its path like a silent sundial. I see the birds that nest in the eastern bough and know their seasons by their song. I see the way the mist settles in the hollows before rain. I pause, my courage faltering. I see the pack run where I cannot follow. Another beat of silence, heavier than the first. King Theron does not smile, but something in his eyes shifts, the weariness momentarily pierced by a spark of recognition. He rises from his throne. The entire hall seems to hold its breath. He descends the dais steps, each movement fluid and powerful, until he stands before me. He is even more immense up close, his presence both terrifying and mesmerizing. He doesn't look at my chair. He only looks at my face. Then he does something that sends a collective shocked gasp through the room. He kneels before me, a Lycan King on one knee, meeting me at my level. Silence has a texture to it, does it not? He says, his voice low, for me alone, yet heard by all. It is a thing most wolves spend their entire lives running from, filling with howls and clash. You have listened to its heart. You have learned its language. He stands, turning to the stunned assembly. His voice rings out, decisive and absolute. The bond is not forged in the clamor of the hunt, but in the quiet understanding of the territory. The mark is not one of dominance, but of recognition. He reaches out, his hand hovering near my cheek. I freeze. With a touch so gentle it feels like a moonbeam, he brushes a strand of hair from my forehead. Where his fingers graze my skin, a warmth blossoms, not painful, but intensely alive. A soft, golden glow emanates from the spot, shimmering for all to see before fading into my skin like a secret. The mark of selection. The gasp that echoes now is one of pure, unadulterated shock. My father's hand on my shoulder is a vice of disbelief. My own heart is a frantic drum against my ribs. This cannot be. This is not the brief, unpleasant formality we were promised. King Theron's final words drop into the silent hall like stones into a still pond, rippling out with terrifying implication. The selection is concluded. Prepare for the royal binding. As I am wheeled away, the king's stormy eyes lingering on my retreating form, the truth crashes into me. I was not passed over, I was chosen. And the bewildering, frightening realization dawns. In choosing the crippled Omega who understood silence, the Lycan King has just shattered the fragile peace of his entire kingdom, and I am now at the center of the coming storm. They call them the Moonstone Apartments, a suite of rooms high in the citadel's central spire. It is a cage, but one woven of silk and moonlight. The walls are pale, smooth stone, and the arched windows offer a dizzying view of the forested kingdom sprawling below, a view I can admire but never touch. The air smells of lavender and clean linen, a sterile contrast to the earthy, living scent of my forest home. My new prison is beautiful, and every exquisite detail screams of how utterly I do not belong here. I am not alone. A beta attendant named Liana has been assigned to me. She is efficient, quiet, and her eyes hold a respectful distance that feels more isolating than pity. She helps me bathe, dress in the absurdly fine gowns provided, soft, flowing silks that feel alien against my skin, and arranges my meals. She does not speak unless spoken to. The silence here is different from my silence at home. That was a companion, filled with the whispers of nature. This is a vacuum, filled only with the echo of my own frantic thoughts. Why did he choose me? The question is a constant gnawing rhythm in my mind, syncopated with the dread of what comes next. The royal binding. No one will tell me what it entails. Is it a ceremony? A ritual? A legal decree? The unknown is a monster with sharp teeth, lurking in the shadows of this gilded room. My only visitor, aside from Liana, is my father. He looks older, the lines on his face carved deeper by worry. He sits by my window, his large hands fidgeting. "They are saying things, Ilara," he murmurs, his voice low. "In the court. The alphas are furious. They feel insulted. Their strongest, most eligible daughters passed over for..." He stops, but the word hangs in the air. "For you." The emotion in my chest is a cold, hard lump of fear. What will they do? Nothing openly, not against the king's direct mark. He looks at me, his eyes pleading. "But you must be careful. This court is a different kind of forest. The predators here do not show their teeth until it is too late." His warning settles on me like a shroud. I am a pawn in a game I do not know how to play. My only value, a mysterious whim of a king I spoke 3 sentences to. On the 3rd day, the king summons me, not to a grand hall, but to his private solar. Liana wheels me through corridors that are progressively quieter, the opulence giving way to simpler, stronger architecture. The guards at the final door are immense, their eyes glowing faintly amber. They glance at me, at my chair, and something unreadable flickers in their gaze before they push the doors open. The room is not large. It is dominated by a great fireplace, cold now, and walls lined with books, real books, leather-bound and worn, not for show. And there, by a window overlooking a secluded courtyard garden, stands King Farron. He has shed his ceremonial regalia for a simple dark tunic and trousers. Out of his royal trappings, he seems more real, yet more intimidating. The power is not in his clothes, it is in the set of his shoulders, the calm control of his stillness. He turns as I enter. "Leave us," he says to Liana. The door closes softly behind me, and I am alone with the most powerful being in the kingdom. "Ilara," he says, my name sounding like a solid thing in his mouth. He gestures to a space near the window. "Come, the evening light is kind here." I wheel myself forward, the mechanics of my chair horribly loud in the intimate space. I stop a respectful distance away, my eyes fixed on the woven rug beneath my wheels. You are afraid. It is not a question. I force myself to look up. You are a king. I am a crippled omega from a minor pack. You marked me before your entire court, upending centuries of tradition. Fear seems reasonable. The emotion in my voice is not defiance, but a raw, honest tremor. A faint, almost imperceptible smile touches his lips. It doesn't reach his weary eyes. Reason, a scarce commodity here. He studies me. You answered my question in the hall with truth, not flattery. You saw the territory, not your own limitation. My court is full of wolves who see only power, alliances, and their own reflection. You see what is actually there. That is not a weakness, Ilara. In a king, it is the only thing that keeps him from becoming a tyrant. In a bondmate, it could be an anchor. His words weave a new kind of confusion. He speaks of anchors and truth, not of lineage or strength. What is the royal binding? I asked, the question bursting from me. He turns fully to face me, crossing his arms. It is an ancient rite, older than the crown. It is not a marriage as humans understand it. It is a forging of a sacred link between two spirits, sanctioned by the moon herself. It is meant to create a balance, a channel for mutual strength and insight. For the king, it stabilizes the royal power, roots it to the land through the bonded mate. He pauses, his gaze intense. It has never been performed with someone not of royal blood. The shockwaves you feel are not just political, they are spiritual. My breath catches, and if it fails, if the link does not form, then the rite is void, and the king remains unbonded. His tone is neutral, but I hear the unspoken consequence. If it fails, I will be cast aside, disgraced utterly, and he will be seen as a fool who lets sentiment overrule wisdom. The pressure in the room multiplies.
Why risk it? The whisper is torn from my soul. He is silent for a long moment, looking out at the darkening garden. Because the howling of my court is a deafening storm, he says, his voice so low I strain to hear. And for years I have been drowning in its noise. In that hall, for one moment, when you spoke of the silent sundial and the mist, I heard quiet. He looks back at me, and the raw loneliness in his eyes is terrifying in its honesty. I need someone who can hear the silence too, before the storm within me breaks and destroys everything. The confession is more frightening than any threat. He did not choose me for strategy. He chose me out of a desperate personal need I cannot possibly fulfill. I am not an anchor. I am a sinking stone. The emotion that overwhelms me now is not fear for myself, but a crushing sense of responsibility. The stability of a kingdom rests on the success of a bond between a lonely king and a broken girl. The sheer, breathtaking absurdity of it steals my voice. He sees it, my panic. He takes a single step forward, then stops, as if remembering a boundary. The binding is in 7 days. You will be prepared. You will be protected. You have my word. The words are a king's decree, but they feel like a fragile promise. Protected from others, perhaps, but who will protect me from the terrifying prospect of failing him? Who will protect him from me? As Liana wheels me back to my beautiful, silent rooms, the king's final words echo, "Before the storm within me breaks." I look out at the moon, pale and cold above the citadel. I realize I am no longer just a crippled omega. I am the proposed calm at the center of a king's hurricane, and I have never felt more helpless in my life. The citadel has ears. I learn this quickly. My gilded cage is not soundproof. Whispers seep through the stone like a cold draft, fragments of conversation from passing courtiers, the muted clang of training yards where alphas vent their frustration, the distant, formal music of gatherings I am not invited to. I am a spectator to a world that resents my presence. Liana remains my only constant. Her efficient care is a barrier as much as a service. I try to bridge the gap. What are they saying, Liana? In the courts, in the kitchens? Please. She pauses while folding a shawl, her beta deference warring with something else. Finally, she speaks, her voice barely audible. They call you the silent queen, my lady. Some use it as a jest. Others say the king seeks a mate who cannot argue, cannot challenge, who will be a symbol of obedience. Her eyes flick to mine, briefly holding a spark of sympathy. They do not understand his choice. They think it a slight against the noble bloodlines. The title is a blow. Silent Queen. Not for my wisdom, but for my perceived docility. My physical silence is being twisted into a metaphor for submission. The emotion is a hot rush of anger, so unfamiliar it tastes like metal on my tongue. I am not docile. I have spent a lifetime observing, thinking, feeling deeply. My body may be still, but my mind is not. What else? I press, my voice firm. She hesitates again. The Alpha Lord Kieran, he is most vocal. His daughter, Lady Seraphine, was the favored candidate. She is a warrior, a strategist. He claims the king weakens the realm by ignoring true strength for a whim. Liana looks down. His faction grows. They do not speak treason, not yet, but their words are sharp. Lord Kieran. I filed the name away, a new knot of dread in my stomach. A powerful enemy made, not by my action, but by my mere existence. My preparation for the binding begins. It is not physical, but intellectual and spiritual. An elder, a wizened she-wolf named Anya, with eyes like milky quartz, is sent to tutor me. She smells of parchment and dried herbs. She does not bow or flatter. The binding is of spirit, not of flesh, she rasps, placing a heavy, ancient tome before me. You must understand the theory, for your mind must be a clear vessel. The rite requires perfect intent from both parties. Any doubt, any hidden reservation will act as a poison in the link. It could sever it, or worse, twist it. For hours each day, she drills me in lore, the mythology of the first Lycan bond, the lunar cycles of power, the sacred geometry of the ceremonial circle. It is complex, beautiful, and terrifying. I learn that the bond, if true, allows a sharing of essence, not thoughts, but deeper things, moods, a sense of location, a profound, empathetic understanding. It is a merging of territories of the soul. The king carries a heavy territory within, a legacy of power and isolation. Your spirit must be a compatible landscape, calm, receptive, yet resilient. Can your silence bear the weight of his storm? I have no answer. My silence has only ever borne the weight of my own disappointment. One night, the whispers in the stone grow louder, more urgent. Shouted orders echo in a distant courtyard. The scent of smoke, subtle but acrid, tinges the air. Liana arrives, her usual composure fractured. There has been an incident, she says swiftly, helping me into a robe. In the royal archives, a fire, contained, but the guard captain requests you remain in your chambers. The archives, where the ancient lore of the binding is kept. A coincidence? The fear is a cold, sinking certainty. It is not. This is a message, a warning. Someone does not want this binding to occur. The fear is back, icy fingers tracing my spine. King Theron comes himself at first light, his smells of smoke and cold anger. His eyes are pure storm gray, no hint of the weariness from before. You are unharmed, he demands, the question a growl. Yes, what happened? Sabotage, a simple, clumsy device meant to look like an accident. It destroyed nothing critical, only a secondary chamber. He paces before my window, a caged predator. But the intent was clear. They are testing my resolve, testing the security around you. Lord Kieran, I venture? His gaze snaps at me, sharp with surprise, then approval. You have been listening. His hand is likely in it, but he is too clever to leave a scent. This is the game, Ella. They will chip away, create fear, instability, the very things that could make the binding fail. He stops his pacing and kneels before me again, his intensity magnetic. Listen to me. This is not about you, not truly. It is about the throne. They fear a bond they cannot control, a queen they cannot intimidate. Your perceived weakness is, in their eyes, your greatest threat to them. It makes you unpredictable. The paradox is staggering. My weakness is my strength in this fight I never asked for. What do we do?
We proceed, he says, iron in his voice, but we change the game. The binding will be moved. The location is the most sacred secret of a monarch. Only you, I, and Anya will know until the moment we depart. We will not be bound within these stone walls, where whispers turn to schemes. Where then? I breathe. Where the silence is real, he says, and for the first time I see a flicker of something like anticipation in his eyes. We go to the heart of the forest, the first and most ancient place of our kind, in 2 days. The suddenness steals my breath. The preparation, the pressure, the imminent danger, it all coalesces into a single sharp point. The world narrows to a path leading into the deepest woods. The safe, gilded cage is being left behind. We are walking into the silence and into the heart of the storm. We leave under the cloak of a moonless night. No procession, no fanfare. Just King Theron, myself, Anya, and 4 of his most trusted guards, their loyalty a palpable force in the tense air. I am carried from my chair into a sturdy, enclosed litter, my wheels left behind. The finality of it is terrifying. For the first time in memory, I am utterly without my primary source of independence. I am cargo, precious and vulnerable. The journey is a symphony of discomfort and profound awe. The litter jostles as we move from paved roads to forest trails. Through the slit in the curtains, I watch the world transform. The cultivated lands around the citadel give way to ancient, towering trees. The air grows thick and cool, rich with the scent of damp earth, decaying leaves, and 1,000 kinds of life. It is the smell of my childhood, but amplified, deeper, older. This is not the periphery I observed from my window. This is the pulsing core. Theron does not ride in the litter with me. He travels in his wolf form, a massive, shadow-gray beast with eyes that gleam like liquid mercury in the sporadic torchlight. He moves like a ghost alongside our party, a silent, powerful guardian. Sometimes I feel his gaze on the litter, a warm, weighty sensation through the wood and fabric. After many hours, we stop. Anya's voice, raspy with age and urgency, instructs the guards to make a perimeter. The litter door opens, and the king, back in his human form, stands there. The forest at this hour is a tapestry of deep blues and impenetrable blacks. We go the rest of the way on foot, he says, his voice a low grumble that belongs to this primordial place. Before I can process the impossibility, he is lifting me from the litter. I gasp, instinctively stiffening. His arms are solid as ancient oak, his hold secure but not confining. He cradles me against his chest as if I weigh no more than a fallen leaf. The proximity is overwhelming. His scent envelops me, clean sweat, night air, and that unique, powerful essence that is purely Theron, a scent of deep earth and impending lightning. My heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic bird. "Trust me," he murmurs, the words vibrating through his chest into mine. It is not a command, it is a request. He carries me, Anya leading the way with a faintly glowing lantern, into the deepest part of the woods. The guards fade into the shadows behind us. The sounds of the forest are deafening in their totality. The rustle of unseen creatures, the sigh of the canopy, the distant cry of a night bird. This is the true silence, the one he spoke of, alive with 1,000,000 tiny voices. I am not an observer here. I am immersed, swallowed by it. We arrive in a clearing, but clearing is too tame a word. It is a perfect circle of soft moss, ringed by stones that look placed by a giant's hand eons ago.
At its center is a pool of water so still and black, it seems to be a hole into the sky, reflecting the few stars visible through the canopy. The air hums with a latent energy that raises the fine hairs on my arms. This is the heart. I can feel it in my bones, a slow, powerful pulse that matches the rhythm of the land itself. Theron sets me down gently on a thick bed of moss near the pool's edge. The cool, living softness is a shock after the confinement of the litter and my chair. Anya begins her work without a word, lighting small bundles of sacred herbs that release a fragrant, cleansing smoke. She traces symbols in the air and on the stones with a staff of carved rowan. Theron kneels beside me. In this sacred space, the mantle of kingship seems to fall from him. He is just a wolf, and I am just another, both of us small before the ancient power of this place. The rite is simple in action, complex in spirit, Anya intones. You will join hands across the water. You will open your inner selves to the moon's gaze through the mirror of the pool. You will not speak. You will only be. The bond will form, or it will not. The heart will decide. Simple, terrifying. I look at Theron, and he holds my gaze. The storm in his eyes has quieted to a still, watchful intensity. He extends his hand, palm up, over the dark water. My hand is trembling as I place mine in his. His skin is warm, his grip firm yet gentle, anchoring me to this moment, to this terrifying precipice. Anya chants in the old tongue, her voice weaving into the sounds of the forest. The smoke curls around us. I focus on the feel of his hand, the solid reality of it. I try to clear my mind, as Anya instructed, to be a calm vessel. But doubts swarm like gnats. My unworthiness, the political chaos, the sabotage, the vast, lonely power I sense within him. I am a storm of fear and inadequacy. How can this possibly work? I close my eyes, desperate for focus. I reach for the silence I know, the one from my window. But that is a memory. Instead, I find the silence here, the living, breathing quiet of the ancient woods. I listen past my own heartbeat, past the chant, to the deeper pulse of the land. I feel it through the moss, a slow, steady thrum of immense age and patience. My breathing begins to sync with it. And then I feel him, not through his hand, but through something else. A pressure, a presence at the edge of my awareness. It is vast, layered, the weight of duty, the sharp ache of loneliness, a fierce protective instinct, and beneath it all, a roiling, controlled power that feels like a contained hurricane. Theron's territory of the soul. It is magnificent and desolate. Tentatively, not knowing how, I try to project my own, my small, quiet world of observation, the patient tracking of shadows on a wall, the deep, wordless love for my father, the frustration of a mind that yearns to explore a body that cannot follow, the stubborn ember of hope that never went out fully. For a moment, there is nothing but the clash of impossibles, a hurricane meeting a still pond. It feels like it will shatter me.
But then something shifts. The hurricane's winds still, not dying, but calming, as if drawn to the pond's serenity. And the pond deepens, its still waters reflecting not just the storm's surface, but its vast, powerful sky. There is no merger, there is a recognition, a boundary where two different landscapes meet and create a new, larger territory. A silent understanding passes between us, clearer than any words. His loneliness, I see its shape. My isolation, he feels its texture. A warmth blossoms where our hands join, not the marked warmth of before, but a flowing, gentle heat that travels up my arm and settles in my chest, right over my heart. At the same time, a sense of profound, unshakable calm flows from me into him. I hear his breath catch. My eyes fly open.
Across the pool, Anya has stopped chanting. She is staring, her milky eyes wide with awe. Theron is looking at our joined hands, then at me. The storm in his eyes is gone, replaced by a dawning, wondrous peace. The constant tension that lined his face has smoothed. The black water of the pool between us suddenly shimmers. A single perfect beam of moonlight, finding a path through the dense canopy, strikes its surface. In that reflected light, for a fleeting second, I see not two separate beings, but a single intertwined silhouette. Then the light fades. The connection in my chest remains, a quiet, warm certainty, like a second, steady heartbeat. Anya's voice is a reverent whisper. It is done. The bond is forged. We are bound, the crippled Omega and the Lycan King, not by politics, not by pity, but by the silent verdict of the heart itself. And as the new, fragile connection settles in my soul, I realize the true journey is only just beginning. The bond is not a voice in my head. It is subtler, deeper, like a new layer to the world I had never perceived before. On the journey back to the Citadel, cradled again in Theron's arms as he moves swiftly through the pre-dawn forest, I am acutely aware of him, not just his physical presence, but the feeling of him, a steady, low hum of watchfulness, a protective focus that radiates from him like warmth from a hearth, and beneath that, the profound calm we forged at the heart of the forest, a calm that feels fragile, new, but wondrously real. He feels different. The weary isolation is still there, a deep canyon in his soul, but it no longer feels like a chasm threatening to swallow him. It feels held, acknowledged, and the constant simmering storm of his power is quieter, not diminished, but centered. The bond is a keel to his ship, steadying it in turbulent waters. For me, the change is internal. The hollow, cold fear of my inadequacy is not gone, but it is faced with a new, solid warmth in my core. I am connected to him, to the land, in a way I never was before. I am no longer just Ilara, the crippled girl looking out a window. I am Ilara, bound to the heart and to the king. The responsibility is staggering, but it doesn't crush me, it roots me. We return to a citadel simmering with tension. Our secret departure and return has been noted. The news of the successful binding, confirmed by Anya's solemn testimony to the elders, spreads like wildfire. The reaction is a polarized tempest. Some, particularly the older wolves and the mystically inclined, view it with awe, a return to ancient, purer ways. Others, Lord Kieran's faction, see it as a confirmed catastrophe. I am no longer housed in the Moonstone apartments. I am moved to the royal wing, to chambers adjacent to Theron's own. They are less gilded, more substantive. The windows here look out over the training grounds and the main gates. A strategic view, I realize. I am no longer tucked away. I am placed squarely in the heart of the kingdom's power structure. My new attendant is an older, stern-faced beta named Gareth, who was Theron's own tutor. His respect is hard-earned, but it is genuine. The first test of the bond comes not from an enemy, but from within. It is midday and I am in my solar, attempting to comprehend a ledger of pack tributes Gareth insists a queen should understand. A wave of sudden, sharp frustration, not mine, washes over me. It is hot, impatient, edged with a biting anger. It clenches my stomach and makes my jaw tense. Theron. I look up, my quill freezing mid-word. The feeling is coming from the direction of the council chambers. A moment later, it is joined by a spike of cold, calculated disdain. Someone is provoking him. Lord Kieran. I don't hear words, but the emotional signatures are unmistakable. Theron's frustration is a red flame. Kieran's disdain is a slick of black ice. Without thinking, I close my eyes. I focus on the warm, steady thread in my chest, the one that leads to him. I don't try to send a message, I don't know how. Instead, I project the feeling from the heart of the forest, the deep, mossy calm, the patient pulse of the ancient stones.
I imagine it flowing down that thread like cool, clear water toward the red heat of his anger. For a long minute, nothing. Then slowly, the sharp edge of his frustration begins to blunt. The fiery spike recedes, replaced by a more controlled, determined heat. The bond hums, and I sense a flicker of recognition, surprise, then a gentle, deliberate push back, not of emotion, but of a simple, focused awareness. He knows I am there. He knows what I did. An hour later, he enters my solar. The usual guards are absent. He still carries the residual energy of a difficult confrontation, but the storm is leashed. He looks at me, his head tilted slightly. The council meeting was trying, he says, neutrally. I know, I reply softly. His eyes sharpen. How? I felt it, your frustration, and another's contempt. He is silent, moving to stand by the window. Kieran. He pushed for a revision of the border patrols, weakening T-points to bolster his own lands. A transparent power grab. He turns to me. And then, in the midst of his rhetorical flourish, I felt a coolness, a deep stillness. It was like a breath of air from the heart. It cleared my head. He studies me intently. Was that you? I nod, suddenly self-conscious. I didn't mean to intrude. I just felt the disturbance, and I tried to share what I felt at the pool. A slow, genuine smile touches his lips, the first true one I have seen. It transforms his face, easing the lines of care, making him seem younger. You didn't intrude, Ilara. You anchored. That is what the bond is for, not control, but balance. He walks over and crouches by my chair, his eyes level with mine. The gesture is becoming familiar, a testament to his respect for my space. What did you feel from Kieran? Cold, I say immediately, calculating, like a knife held in shadow.
Theron nods, his expression grimly satisfied. Your perception is accurate. Your silence allows you to hear the notes others miss in the howl. He stands. This changes things. You are not just a queen by right, you are a strategic asset. Your insight, delivered through the bond, is something they cannot anticipate or counter. The thought is unsettling. I am to be a spy in the king's emotional court? I do not wish to be a weapon, I whisper. You are not, he says firmly. You are a compass. You help me navigate the true currents, not just the surface waves. And in return, he pauses, and a thread of his own calm, laced with a new, fierce protectiveness, flows back to me along the bond. In return, I will ensure you have everything you need to explore this new territory of yours. Teachers, scholars, access to the deepest archives. Your mind will not be crippled, Ilara. It will fly further than any wolf's legs could ever run. The promise is a key turning in a lock I thought was sealed forever. The emotion that floods me is not joy, but a profound, tearful gratitude. He sees me, not the chair, not the omega, not the symbol. He sees my territory, and he wants to help me map it. That night, as I lie in the unfamiliar luxury of my new bed, I explore the thread between us. It is quiet, a steady hum of presence. I send a gentle pulse of gratitude down it. A moment later, a wave of quiet, unwavering solidarity returns, wrapping around me like a shield. The bond is working, but as I drift to sleep, a cold thought intrudes. Lord Kieran felt the shift in Theron today. He felt his calculation fail. He will know the bond is not a sham, and a man who plays with knives in the shadow does not simply put them away when his first strike is parried. He sharpens them. The first thread of connection is woven, but in the tapestry of this court, it has also just become a target. The bond settles into my being like a new sense. I learn its language, a dialect of emotion, impression, and instinctive knowing. Theron's presence is a constant, gentle pressure at the edge of my awareness, a north star in the internal landscape of my soul. In council meetings I do not attend, I feel the ebb and flow of his focus, his occasional spikes of irritation, his rarer moments of dry amusement, and I learn to respond not by shaping his feelings, but by offering my own stillness as a counterbalance. It is a silent, continuous conversation. True to his word, Theron provides tutors, not just Gareth for statecraft, but a historian named Oren with a passion for forgotten legends, and a cartographer who brings me intricate maps of territories I will never tread physically, but can now explore with my mind. My world, once so small, expands at a dizzying rate. The emotion is a heady mix of exhilaration and overwhelming humility. I am drinking from a fire hose of knowledge, and every drop is precious. But the political frost around me thickens into a hard, visible ice. I am now expected to take meals in the Great Hall. My first appearance is an ordeal. Gareth wheels me to a place at the high table, to Theron's right. The cacophony of the hall dies to a murmur as hundreds of eyes fix on me. The weight of their gazes is a physical force. I feel curiosity, resentment, open hostility, and a thick layer of morbid fascination. I am the exhibit, the silent queen made flesh. Theron, beside me, radiates a calm, imperious authority. He does not speak to me with undue softness, nor does he ignore me. He treats me with a quiet, respectful equality, discussing a point of trade with me as if my opinion matters. It is a performance, but a potent one. I feel Lord Kieran's gaze like a shard of ice from down the table. His daughter, Lady Seraphine, sits beside him. She is breathtakingly beautiful, all sharp angles and coiled grace, with eyes like chips of flint. She does not look at me with hatred, but with a cold, analytical assessment, as if calculating my structural weaknesses. The emotion from their direction is a focused, chilling intent. The first attack comes a week after the binding, not with fire or force, but with poison-tipped words. A petition is brought before Theron by a minor lord from Kieran's faction. It concerns the allocation of medicinal resources. The lord, with a face of false concern, argues that precious medical stores should be prioritized for the strong and productive members of the packs, the warriors and hunters, for the continued vigor of our kingdom, he says, his eyes sliding to me and away, a masterpiece of insinuation. The hall falls utterly silent. The implication hangs in the air, grotesque and cruel. Why waste resources on the weak, on the crippled queen? Theron's anger is instantaneous, a white-hot forge blast I feel through the bond. It is all I can do not to flinch. His power fills the hall, a suffocating pressure. The lord who spoke pales, trembling. But before Theron can pronounce a furious judgment, I place my hand lightly on the arm of his throne. It is a bold gesture, one I haven't dared before. He stills. I look at the petitioner, my heart pounding against my ribs, but my voice, when it comes, is clear and carries in the silence. It holds no heat, only a quiet, piercing clarity. Healing is not a reward for strength, it is an affirmation of pack. A wolf with a wounded leg is not left to slow the hunt. The pack carries it, heals it, for its knowledge of the terrain remains, and its heart still beats for the whole. To do otherwise is not strength, it is a sickness of the spirit that weakens the entire body. I am not speaking of myself, I am speaking of the first law of the wolf. The emotion in my voice is not defensiveness, but a sad certainty. The truth of it rings in the stone hall. I feel Theron's rage transmute into something else, a fierce, proud validation. He squeezes my hand where it rests on his arm, a quick, hidden gesture. The petition is dismissed with a scathing finality from the king. The lord slinks away, but the victory feels hollow. As the meal resumes, I feel the shift. The open hostility has been driven underground, but the cold assessment from Kieran and Seraphine has intensified. I have shown I am not a mute symbol. I can think, I can speak. This makes me more dangerous and more of a target. That night, the bond brings me not calm, but a tremor of unease from Theron's quarters. It is late. I signal to Gareth that I wish to be wheeled onto my balcony. The night is clear, the moon a sharp sliver. The unease doesn't fade, it grows, threaded with strategic calculation. Something is happening.
Then I see it, a flicker of movement in the courtyard far below, near the postern gate. Shadows detaching from deeper shadows. 5, 6 figures, moving with a predatory stealth no guard should use. They are dressed in black, their forms blending into the stone. My breath catches. I feel a corresponding spike of alertness from Theron. He has been notified. But the guards' patrol patterns are wrong. They are on the far side of the bailey. The intruders are heading for the citadel's lower levels. Toward the vaults? The dungeons? No. My mind, trained on maps and logistics, pieces it together. The quickest route from that gate to the royal wing's servant passages, it leads near the kitchen stores and the royal taster's quarters. This is not an assassination attempt on the king. It is subtler, an attack on the mechanism of safety itself. Discredit the guards, sow paranoia, perhaps even plant evidence. I don't think, I act. I close my eyes and push down the bond with all the force of my alarm. Not an emotion, but an image, a knowing. The postern gate, 6 shadows, the route to the kitchens, the threat to the trust within our walls. I send it like a dart, wrapped in my own cold fear. The response is immediate. The unease in the bond crystallizes into lethal focus. From the direction of Theron's chambers, a window shatters. A massive silver-furred wolf, Theron in his full Lycan form, explodes into the night air. He doesn't howl. His silence is more terrifying. He plummets not to the courtyard, but to a ledge, then to a lower roof, moving with impossible, terrifying grace directly toward the path I showed him. Chaos erupts alow. Shouts, the clash of steel, a snarl that cuts through the night and chills the blood. It is over in minutes. The bond hums with a satisfied, protective fury, then a deliberate calm as Theron reasserts control. An hour later, Gareth informs me, his voice tight with subdued awe, that 6 infiltrators were captured. They bear no insignia, but their gear is of premium make. They were indeed heading for the kitchen stores. The king intercepted them personally, Gareth says, his eyes on me with new depth. He seemed to know exactly where they would be. I just nod, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. Theron does not come to me that night, but just before dawn, a single powerful pulse of gratitude and unwavering trust flows down the bond, so strong it brings tears to my eyes. I am no longer just a compass. I have become part of the kingdom's defenses, and as the first light of dawn touches the citadel, I know with cold certainty, Lord Kieran's knife has been parried again, but he has felt the hand that guides the shield, and the next strike will be aimed directly at me. The foiled infiltration changes the atmosphere in the citadel. A tense, watchful respect replaces some of the open contempt. The guards look at me not with pity, but with a curious wariness when I pass. I am the queen who knew. Rumors swirl, fed by the mystery of the bond. Theron makes no public announcement, but his confidence in me is now visible. He consults me in open court on matters of domestic management, resource allocation, dispute resolution between non-military pacts. My answers, drawn from my studies and my innate understanding of balance, are measured and fair. Slowly, grudgingly, I earn a sliver of legitimacy. But the eye of the storm is never calm. Lady Seraphine requests a private audience with me. The message, delivered by a smirking page, is a masterpiece of false courtesy. She wishes to pay her respects to the new queen and discuss matters of pack harmony. Theron feels my spike of apprehension through the bond. His response is a steadying wave of support. You are queen. You receive whom you choose. I am a thought away. I choose to receive her in my solar. I have Gareth arrange the room carefully, me behind a broad desk, her in a chair across from it. I will not be looked down upon. Seraphine enters like a warrior surveying a new battlefield. She is clad in practical, elegant leathers, a single braid crowning her head. She bows, just deep enough to be respectful, not an inch more. "Your Majesty," she says. Her voice is cool, melodic, and utterly devoid of warmth. "Lady Seraphine,"
Please, sit. She does, back straight, hands folded. I wished to offer my congratulations on your bond. It is a historic event. She lets the word historic hang, ambiguous. Thank you, I replied, matching her neutrality. You wished to discuss pack harmony? Indeed. She leans forward slightly. My father and his allies are traditionalists. They see strength in fang and claw, in proven lineage. Your arrival has been a shock to their system. It creates instability. She states it as a fact, not accusation. And what do you see? I ask, genuinely curious. A flicker of something, perhaps surprise, crosses her flawless features. I see a new variable, unproven, potentially disruptive, but variables can be managed. She pauses, her flinty eyes locking onto mine. I propose an alliance. Of all the things I expected, this was not among them. The emotion is sharp surprise. I keep my face still. An alliance? Between you and I, publicly we present a united front, the wisdom of the new bond paired with the proven strength of the oldest bloodline. We host gatherings together. We visit the packs jointly. You provide the spiritual legitimacy. I provide the martial and political credibility many feel you lack. She speaks like a general outlining a campaign. In return, my father's faction stands down. The whispers cease. The threats cease. The kingdom stabilizes under a dual image that satisfies both the old ways and the new. It is a brilliant, cold-blooded strategy. It would legitimize me in the eyes of the doubters overnight. It would neuter Kieran as a threat. It would give Theron the political peace he needs to rule effectively. And it would make Seraphine the power behind the throne, the one who manages the crippled queen. I would be a figurehead, and she would be the hand that moves it. The part of me that is still Ilara of the Pinefall Pack, the girl who wanted only to be safe, screams to accept. This is a clear path to survival, to a semblance of peace. But the part of me that is bound to the heart, that feels Theron's steady trust like a sun in my chest, knows the truth. This is not harmony. It is a takeover. It is the knife sheathed in silk. And the king, I ask softly, where does he fit in this dual image? Seraphine's smile is thin. The king is the power. We are the channels through which that power is accepted by the people. He rules the law. We rule the hearts and minds. It is a more efficient division of labor. She has just implied that Theron, for all his power, does not have the hearts and minds, that he needs us to secure them. The arrogance is staggering.
I feel a slow burn of anger, not just mine, but an echo from the bond. Theron is listening, or at least feeling the tenor of this meeting. I let my anger cool into something harder, resolution. I thank you for your proposal, Lady Seraphine. It is thoughtfully crafted. I meet her gaze. But the bond forged at the heart was not a political arrangement. It was a union of two spirits to guide one throne. There are not two channels. There is one king and one queen bound to him. To create a separate competing channel for hearts and minds would not create harmony. It would create a schism in the very soul of the kingdom you claim to want to stabilize. Her mask of cool civility slips for a second, revealing a flash of intense irritation. Sentiment is not strategy, Your Majesty. You cling to a mystical ideal while the real world fractures around you. And you confuse manipulation for stability, I counter, my voice still quiet. You offer a partnership where I am the symbol and you are the hand. The bond I share with Theron makes me his hand, his heart, and his compass, as he is my strength and my shield. I will not dilute that by appointing a regent for my own credibility. The word regent stings her. She stands, her control snapping back into place. Then you choose to be a wedge. Do not be surprised when the kingdom splits along the fault line you create. She gives a curt, perfunctory bow. Your Majesty. She sweeps out, leaving the scent of frost and ambition in her wake. I let out a shaky breath. My hands are trembling. I just turned down the only lifeline thrown to me and likely declared open war on the most dangerous woman in the realm. Farron's presence fills the bond, not with worry but with a profound, glowing pride. An image flashes to me, not words but a feeling symbol, a lone, straight sapling on a wind-swept cliff, bending but not breaking. It is followed by a clear, emotional certainty. You are the queen, you have spoken. That evening, the countermove comes, not from Seraphine but from her father. A formal grievance is filed with the Elder Council. It claims that the bond, performed in secret outside traditional sacred sites, may not be fully sanctified under ancient law. It calls for a verification of the link, an archaic, invasive ritual where the bonded pair are subjected to public magical scrutiny to prove the depth of their connection. It is a masterstroke. If we refuse, it casts doubt on the bond's validity. If we submit, we turn our sacred, private link into a court spectacle, vulnerable to whatever interference Kieran might plan. Farron's fury is a silent thunderclap felt through the entire citadel. He comes to me, his eyes blazing. I will deny it. They overreach. No, I say, the idea forming as I speak. I feel the rightness of it, a cold clarity. We accept. He stares at me. Ilara, it is a trap. They will try to disrupt it, to make us look fools, or worse, fraudulent. I know, I say, meeting his stormy gaze. They have framed the challenge in public doubt. We must answer in public truth. We cannot hide our bond in the shadows of the heart forever. It is the strength of the kingdom now. Let them see its strength. Let them try to break it. The emotion in my voice is not bravado, but a steely certainty that has grown from the mossy soil of the forest pool. The bond is real, Farron. Let the land itself be our witness. He sees my resolve. The anger in the bond melts into a fierce, determined agreement. He takes my hand, and the connection between us flares, bright and unshakable. Then we show them, he murmurs. We show them all. The gauntlet is thrown. The verification is set for the next full moon. The entire court will watch. Kieran and Seraphine will be there, waiting for a stumble, a weakness, a flaw to exploit. The private, sacred thing Farron and I built in the silent heart is to be laid bare on a stone altar under the hungry eyes of our enemies. The fear is there, icy in my veins, but beneath it, stronger, is the warm, pulsing thread of the bond. We are not two alone anymore. We are a territory, and we are about to defend our borders. The full moon hangs over the citadel like a great, unblinking eye. The ceremonial courtyard is packed with every noble, elder, and dignitary of note. Torches flicker, casting dancing shadows on stone faces filled with anticipation, skepticism, and malice. A raised platform dominates the space, and upon it the elders have arranged a circle of polished moonstones. In the center are two simple, backless chairs. This is the stage for our validation. I am dressed in a simple gown of silver gray, the color of moonlit mist. Farron wears his formal black, the royal crest subdued. As Gareth wheels me to the base of the platform, the crowd's murmuring swells. I feel their collective gaze, a physical pressure. But I am not alone. Farron's presence beside me is a rock, his emotional state a focused, protective calm. He does not look at the crowd. He looks at me and gives a single, slight nod. Our territory. We are helped onto the platform and into the chairs, facing each other within the circle of stones. The elder performing the rite is Anya. Her milky eyes are solemn. This is not her sacred forest pool. This is a political theater, and she is a reluctant actor. She explains the ritual in a carrying voice. The verification calls upon the moon's truth. The stones will amplify the connection between the bonded pair. A true, deep bond will manifest a visible sign, a shared aura, a resonance. A false or weak bond will show nothing, or worse, it will reveal discord. She begins a chant. The moonstones at our feet start to glow with a soft white light.
I feel a pulling sensation, as if the ritual is trying to draw the bond out from where it lives in my chest and make it external. It is intrusive, uncomfortable. I close my eyes, focusing inward. I find the warm, steady thread that connects me to Farron. I hold on to it. Farron does the same. Through the bond, I feel him shutting out the noise, the pressure, the hostile eyes. He focuses solely on me, on our connection. He sends a pulse down the thread, an image of the two of us standing back to back in a circle of wolves, not fighting, just standing firm. The meaning is clear. We defend from here. The stones glow brighter. A collective inhale comes from the crowd. A faint, shimmering light begins to emanate from each of us, a silver nimbus around Farron, a softer, pearlescent gray around me. They are separate. Murmurs rise. This is not the shared aura described. Doubt ripples through the courtyard. I feel a spike of concentration from Theron, then frustration. The ritual's structure is forcing our bond into a shape it doesn't naturally take. Our connection is not a blinding, uniform light. It is a dialogue between different landscapes. This archaic magic wants a merger. We have a partnership.
Then I feel it, a subtle, discordant vibration under the chanting, not from Anya, from the edge of the platform. One of the elders, a thin man with close-set eyes who has been seen often with Kieran, is chanting along, but his fingers are subtly moving against his robe, tracing a counter-sigil. Sabotage. He is using the ritual's own amplification to inject a frequency of dissonance to fray the edges of our connection. I feel Farron's instant recognition of the threat. His anger is a controlled blaze. But anger will not help here. The discordant vibration worms its way into the ritual space. The separate auras around us flicker. Mine wavers, threatening to gutter out like a dying flame. A sound of derisive satisfaction comes from Kieran's direction. Panic claws at me. This is what they wanted, a public failure. The bond declared weak, fraudulent. My mind races. The ritual seeks a shared sign. Our bond is not a shared light, it is a shared understanding, a dialogue. How do we show a dialogue? An idea sparks, born of desperation and the core truth of what we are. I stop trying to project an aura. Instead, I open myself completely. I push not power, but memory and sensation down the bond to Farron. The cool moss of the heart, the scent of pine from my window, the patient tracking of a shadow, my quiet, stubborn love for my father, the frustration of my legs, the humble gratitude for my tutors, the warm, solid trust I have in him. For a second, there is nothing. Then Farron responds. He sends his own flood, the crushing weight of the crown, the sting of betrayal from past advisors, the lonely howl of power with no equal to share it, the fierce protectiveness he feels for his people, the startling, profound peace he found at the heart, and his unwavering, resolute faith in me. It is not a merger, it is an exchange, a breathtaking, vulnerable sharing of our innermost territories. The discordant vibration from the saboteur hits this flowing exchange and shatters against it, like a wave against a cliff. The physical world snaps back into focus. The separate auras around us are gone. Instead, a ribbon of light forms in the air between our chests. It is not one color, but a braid, strands of storm gray, silver, pearlescent light, and deep forest green, twisting together in a slow, beautiful dance. It pulses in time with our heartbeats, visible to all. The crowd gasps. The chanting elder's fingers freeze. Anya's voice rises in triumph, chanting louder. The braided light grows brighter, illuminating our faces, casting the moonstones into shadow. It is alive, complex, and unmistakably real. Farron's eyes hold mine, and in them I see the reflection of the braided light, and something more profound, awe.
We did not just defend our bond, we revealed its true, beautiful nature. The ritual ends. The braided light slowly fades, sinking back into our chests. The silence in the courtyard is absolute, stunned. Anya turns to the assembly, her voice ringing with authority. The bond is verified, not as a simple merging, but as a true and sacred alliance of complementary spirits. The land and moon bear witness to its depth and truth. The verdict is undeniable. The public doubt is shattered in the most public way possible. I look toward Lord Kieran. His face is a mask of stone, but his eyes are volcanic with rage. Seraphine beside him is not looking at the light or at her father. She is looking at me. Her expression is no longer cold assessment. It is pure, undiluted calculation and a dawning respect that is far more dangerous than her contempt. As we are helped from the platform, the crowd begins to bow, not just to Farron, but to me. The bow is deeper, more genuine. They have seen the proof. The crippled Omega is gone. In her place is the queen, whose bond with the king is a living, braided light. But victory is not sweet. It is sobering. We have won the battle of perception, but we have also shown our enemies the true strength they now must contend with. And as Farron's hand rests on my shoulder, a possessive, proud weight, I feel the truth through the bond. The verification is over. The real war for the soul of the kingdom begins now. Victory is a crown of thorns. In the days following the verification, my status transforms from disputed queen to acknowledged royalty. Petitions now come to me directly. Disputes between craft guilds, requests for patronage from scholars, grievances about land use, all flow to my solar. Gareth, once a tutor, is now my de facto chief of staff, his stern face often creased with a grim satisfaction. They see your mind now, Majesty. They come for your judgment because they trust its fairness. The trust is a new, heavy weight. Every decision feels monumental. A wrong choice could unravel the fragile credibility we fought so hard to win. Farron guides me, but he does not dictate. Through the bond, I feel his quiet confidence, his willingness to let me find my own footing. It is more empowering than any direct order. But the Cold War with Kieran's faction enters a new phase. The overt attacks cease. The whispers grow subtler, more insidious. They do not question the bond's existence anymore. They question its effect. Rumors surface that the king is distracted, his will softened by a bond that prioritizes gentle insight over decisive strength. That the silent queen's influence is making the realm vulnerable, too contemplative, too slow to act. They paint my strength as a weakness in him. I feel the pressure on Farron increase. His council meetings grow longer, more contentious. Through the bond, I sense the constant grating effort of holding his temper against veiled insults and strategic obstructions. He is a rock, but even rocks wear down under constant pressure. My own challenge comes in a different form. A delegation arrives from the remote mountain howler pack. They are a hardy, insular people who value physical prowess above all else. Their alpha, a grizzled giant named Boren, stands before me in the audience chamber, his disdain poorly concealed. He does not bow. "We have a problem, Queen." The title a sneer. A cave bear, ancient and maddened, has claimed the high pastures. It has killed 6 of my best hunters. We cannot kill it. The terrain is too treacherous for a full war party. He crosses his massive arms. We petition the crown for aid. Send your king's elite guard to deal with the beast. Let us see the strength of the realm that chooses insight over fang. The challenge is blatant. If Farron sends his guard, it proves the mountain pack cannot handle its own problems, weakening their autonomy and breeding resentment. If he does not, he looks weak, and more of Boren's people die.
It is a trap that forces a display of brute force, playing directly into the narrative that my influence has made us reactive. I feel Theron's simmering anger through the bond. He is ready to order the guards mobilized, to prove the crown's might. But a thought, cold and clear, forms in my mind. I hold up a hand before he can speak from his throne befront me in the stone room. "Alpha Borin," I say, my voice quiet but carrying in the stone room. "You say the terrain is too treacherous for a war party. Describe it."
He blinks, thrown by the question. Narrow cliffs, loose shale, caves too small for a group. The beast is clever, retreats where we cannot follow. I listen, my mind racing over the maps I've studied, the lore of beasts Orin made me read. "And you have tried poison? Traps?" "It avoids traps, and poison taints the meat and the land. We are not desperate enough for that." "But you are desperate enough to ask your king to fight your battle," I observe, mildly. He flushes. I continue. "A cave bear of that age, maddened, it likely suffers. Its teeth may be broken, its joints aching. It preys on your herds not out of malice, but because it is the easiest food for a creature in constant pain." Borin scowls. "What of it? It is still a killer." "It is a sick, cornered creature, not an invading army," I say. I turn to Theron, speaking now to him, but for all to hear. "Sending warriors to fight a painful, dying beast on its own treacherous ground will cost more lives. It is a brute force solution to a problem of ecology and mercy." I let the word mercy hang in the air, a concept often dismissed by wolves like Borin. I propose a different aid. I outline my plan. Not warriors, but a team of 2, our best tracker and our most skilled herbalist healer, one versed in potent sedatives. They would go not to fight, but to diagnose and end the bear's suffering with minimal risk. They would use the terrain's limitations as an advantage. A single, stealthy approach is better than a troop. The pack would provide guides to the area only. The chamber is silent. Borin looks stunned, then incredulous. "You would send a healer to kill a bear?" "I would send precision where you propose a sledgehammer," I reply. "The crown's strength is not just in its claws, but in its mind and its resources. We offer you a solution that saves your hunters' lives, removes the threat, and honors the land by not poisoning it. Do you accept this aid? Or do you only wish to test the king's willingness to send soldiers to die? The choice is laid bare. Accept a clever, humane solution, or admit his petition was merely a provocation." Borin's face works through conflict, then a grudging, bewildered respect. He glances at Theron, who was watching me with unveiled pride. The king gives a single, definitive nod. "We accept," Borin grumbles, executing a rough but genuine bow. The mountain howlers thank the crown for its considered aid. After they leave, Theron waits until we are private in my solar. The bond hums with a vibrant, warm energy. "Ecology and mercy," he repeats, a true smile on his face. "You turned a test of brute force into a lesson in wise rule. You didn't just solve his problem, Ilara. You expanded his idea of what strength is." The praise warms me, but the responsibility chills me. They will say I sent a healer to do a warrior's job, that I'm weak. "Let them," he says, his voice firm. "Borin will return to his mountains and tell a different story, of a queen who thought of his hunters' lives and his land's health. Stories like that are how true loyalty is forged, not through fear of the sledgehammer, but respect for the scalpel." He kneels, taking my hand. "You wear the crown they never wanted you to have, and you are making it fit the kingdom's true head, not just its strongest jaw." That night, as I review another petition, a new sensation comes through the bond from Theron. It is not stress or pride. It is a deep, soul-aching sorrow, so profound it steals my breath.
It is followed by a flicker of a memory, not shared but felt. A younger Theron standing over a grave under a weeping willow. The grief is fresh, sharp. It is the anniversary of something, a loss he has never spoken of. I don't intrude, I don't send questions. I simply open my end of the bond and let my own quiet empathy flow back, a wordless acknowledgement of his pain, a steady, loving presence in the dark. I am here. I feel it. You are not alone. Minutes later, the sorrow in the bond eases, soothed not by solution, but by companionship. The sharp edges blur into a melancholic peace. A pulse of gratitude, deeper than any before, returns to me. I lean back in my chair, looking at the moon through my window. The unwanted crown is heavy. The politics are an endless, exhausting game. The enemies are patient and cruel. But this silent sharing of burdens, this mutual strengthening, this is the heart of the bond. This is the territory we are building together. And as I feel his grief settle into a bearable ache, I know with absolute certainty I would wear a crown of 1,000 thorns for this, for the privilege of being his calm in the storm, and for the honor of having him as my shelter in mine. The shared sorrow over Theron's unnamed grief deepens our bond in a way victory never could. It becomes less of a tool and more of a sanctuary. We learn to share quiet moments across the distance of the citadel, a flash of amusement at a courtier's pompous turn of phrase, a shared appreciation for a sudden sunset, a simultaneous longing for the simple silence of the forest heart. It is becoming the fabric of our daily lives. My work continues. The healer and tracker returned from the mountains successful. The bear was put down peacefully, its suffering ended. Alpha Boron sends a gruff but effusive thank you, along with gifts of rare mountain crystals. It is a small victory, but a concrete one. My scalpel approach is yielding results. Seraphine, meanwhile, has become a ghost at the edges of my vision. She is always present at court functions, always impeccably dressed, always watching. But she makes no more overtures, no more offers of poisoned alliances. Her silence is more unnerving than her words. The bond gives me no insight into her. She is a closed book, a smoothed stone revealing nothing. I feel Farron's watchfulness regarding her double my own. I take to spending afternoons in the citadel's inner garden, a walled haven of healing herbs and night-blooming flowers. It is one of the few places I can be wheeled without an audience, where the scent of earth and green things overwhelms the stone and ambition smell of the court. Liana, who has returned to my service at my request, often accompanies me, reading aloud or simply letting me think. One such afternoon, a scent hits me on the breeze, cloying and sweet, like rotting lilies. It is wrong for this garden of rosemary and sage. A moment later, a figure steps from behind a trellis of moonflowers. Not Seraphine, an older she-wolf, her face handsome but sharp, dressed in the colors of Kieran's house. Lady Valeria, Seraphine's aunt, and a renowned poison tongue of the court. "Your Majesty," she says, her smile not reaching her eyes, "how peaceful you look." "Lady Valeria," I acknowledge, keeping my tone neutral. Liana stiffens beside me. "I wondered if I might beg a moment of your time," Valeria purrs, gliding closer. "I have been so curious about you. We all have. The Omega who ensnared a king with philosophy." She lets the word dangle, implying it's a substitute for something more substantial.
"The bond chooses its own reasons," I say simply. "Indeed." Her eyes rake over me, my chair, my useless legs. "It must be a great comfort to you to have such power, such protection, after a life of limitation." Her voice is dripping with false sympathy. "To know that no matter what you will be cared for, that even if the bond were to falter, the king's noble character would ensure you were not cast back to the obscurity you came from. The threat is veiled in honey. She is not just insulting me, she is probing, suggesting the bond is an act of charity and hinting at its potential dissolution. The emotion in my chest is cold anger, but I keep it from my face. The bond forged at the heart does not falter on convenience, my lady, and my past is not obscurity. It is my foundation. One cannot build anything lasting on a foundation of pretense. Her smile tightens. A pretty sentiment. Foundations can be shaken, though. Even the strongest stones can be loosened. She leans in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, the scent of rot stronger. Tell me, does your bond show you everything? The king's past, for instance, the graves he visits alone, the reasons for certain animosities within the court, the truth behind the tragic death of the previous heir. My blood runs cold. She is referencing Theron's grief. She is hinting at secrets, at a past tragedy she believes I am ignorant of. She is trying to plant seeds of doubt, to make me question the depth of what Theron shares with me. I look her directly in the eye. The bond shows me what we need to see to rule together. It is not a window for court gossip or the digging up of old sorrows. Some graves are meant to be respected, not raided for political ammunition. My voice holds a cutting edge I didn't know I possessed. For a flash, her mask slips, revealing pure venom. Then it is back. Of course, forgive an old wolf's curiosity. We are all so invested in the happiness and stability of our king. She gives a shallow curtsy. Do enjoy your garden, Majesty, while you can. She melts back into the foliage. The foul scent lingers. Lyanna is pale. My lady, she is dangerous. I know, I whisper, my heart pounding. Her words are echoes in my mind. The previous heir. Theron was not the firstborn. A tragic death? He has never spoken of a sibling. The grief I felt, it wasn't for a parent or a mate. It was for a brother or sister. That night, during our evening meal, I can't shake Valeria's insinuations. Theron feels my distraction. What troubles you? The question comes not in words, but as a gentle nudge through the bond. I send back a feeling of unease, a tangled knot of confrontation and poisoned words. I attach the scent of rotting lilies. His response is immediate, a flash of dark, protective anger, followed by a weary resignation. He doesn't explain. Instead, he says aloud, "The garden is not as secure as I believed. I will have the guards sweep it. You should take your solace elsewhere for a time." He is closing the subject, protecting me by removing me from the danger, but he is not addressing the poison she injected. The doubt, tiny and sharp, pricks at me. Why won't he tell me about his past? Does he not trust me with it? I feel the distance then, not in the bond itself, which hums steadily, but in the unshared history. I am his present and future, but his past is a locked room, and Lady Valeria has just whispered that a monster sleeps inside it. As you wish, I say softly, my voice flat. He hears the hurt. He reaches across the table, his hand covering mine. His stormy eyes are earnest. Ilara, the court is a nest of vipers. They will say anything to create fissures between us. Do not let their venom take root. Then give me the antidote of truth, I plead quietly, holding his gaze. If there are graves, let me mourn them with you. If there are shadows, let me stand in them beside you. A bond cannot build a future on a past that is kept in the dark. He is silent for a long moment, conflict warring in his eyes. I feel it through the bond, the desire to protect me clashing with the knowledge that I am right, the need to shield his pain versus the need to share his whole self.
Finally, he lets out a long breath. The wall around that part of him doesn't come down, but it develops a door. "Not here," he murmurs. "Not within these stone walls that have ears. Soon, I promise you. We will go to the willow, and I will tell you of the shadow. It is a tale not for a court solar. It is a tale for the territory where it grew." The promise is enough, for now. The doubt recedes, soothed by his honesty and the prospect of sharing the burden. But Lady Valeria's visit has done its work. She has reminded me that for all its strength, our bond exists in a world of shadows, and the greatest threat may not be to my life or my throne, but to the trust that is the very bedrock of what we are building. The garden may be swept of physical threats, but the poisonous seeds of doubt have already been scattered on the wind. Ferron keeps his promise. A week after Valeria's poisoned visit, we leave the citadel at dusk with only 2 guards, traveling to a part of the royal grounds I have never seen. The air grows damp, and the land slopes down towards a slow-moving river. There, on a bend, stands a solitary weeping willow, its branches a shimmering curtain of green touching the water. The atmosphere here is heavy, not with sacred power like the heart, but with a profound, melancholy peace. Ferron carries me from the litter and sets me on a soft patch of grass by the trunk. He dismisses the guards to the perimeter. For a long time he just looks at the tree, his face unreadable. The bond is quiet, trumming with a solemn, prepared grief. "This is where we buried Lysander, my older brother," he says finally, his voice rough. The name hangs in the twilight. I say nothing, just wait. "He was everything I was not, charismatic, effortless in his power, beloved by the court, the golden heir. I was the spare, quieter, more intense, more questioning tradition. We were not close. There was a rivalry, fostered by those who sought to profit from a divided house." He takes a deep breath. "There was an accident, a border skirmish that turned into an ambush. I was with him. We were separated. By the time I fought my way to his position, it was too late. He was gone. The story told is that he died a hero's death, defending the border." I feel the old, familiar guilt and sorrow radiating from him, but there's a sharper, newer edge beneath it now, the pain of confession. "But that is not the whole truth," I whisper. He shakes his head, a muscle jumping in his jaw. "The ambush was not an accident. Our scouts had been subverted. The attack was meant to eliminate the royal line. They knew he would be there. They lured him there." He finally turns to look at me, his eyes tormented. And I had seen discrepancies in the scout reports the day before, a feeling, an inconsistency I couldn't articulate. I went to my father with my concerns. He dismissed them, called me jealous of my brother, paranoid. I let it go. I didn't push. If I had screamed it from the walls, if I had gone to Lysander myself. His grief is a canyon, and at its bottom is a pool of guilt I now understand. This is the storm within him, not just the loneliness of power, but the crushing weight of a failure he believes was his. "The ones responsible?" I ask, though I dread the answer. "A cabal of lords, including Kieran's younger brother," Theron says, the name dropping like a stone. "They were rooted out and executed after a brutal investigation by my father, but the damage was done. My father never looked at me the same. He saw the son who survived when the favored one died. The court saw an heir who deigned from his brother's loss. The trust was shattered. The howling whispers began then, Alara, the ones that say I am unfit, that my rule is born of tragedy I did too little to prevent." He sinks to the grass beside me, the mighty Lycan King brought low by memory. "This is the shadow, Alara. This is the grave they whisper about. Not just my brother's, but the grave of my own innocence. When I chose you, it was not just to silence the howling, it was because you saw the world with a clarity I had once tried to have and had been beaten out of me. You are the part of me that questioned the scout report, the part I buried with Lysander. The emotion that swells in me is too vast for words. It is grief for his loss, fury at the betrayal, and a heartbreaking tenderness for the young wolf he was. I reach out, my fingers brushing his where they lie clenched on the grass. You were not responsible for their treachery, I say, each word deliberate. You were a young wolf whose instinct was overruled by his king. You carry a guilt that belongs to the true murderers, and you have let that guilt shape you into a king who questions everything, who seeks true silence because the noise of lies cost you everything. I turn his hand over, holding it. Theron, your bond with me didn't resurrect that buried part of you. It honored it. It told that young, questioning wolf that he was right to see clearly, that his clarity is not a weakness, but the kingdom's greatest strength. A shudder runs through him. The bond floods with a torrent of emotion, decades of locked-away pain, the first touch of absolution, a love so fierce and grateful it steals my breath. He doesn't weep, but he leans his forehead against my shoulder, a gesture of utter vulnerability. The king is gone. Only Theron remains. We sit in the willow's shadow as the moon rises. The shared truth has changed the texture of our bond. It feels denser, more resilient, as if it has grown roots into this painful past and now draws strength from it. The shadow is no longer a specter between us. It is a part of our shared territory, acknowledged and integrated. Kieran, I say softly as we prepare to leave, his brother was executed for the plot. That is the source of his hatred. It's not just ambition, it's a blood feud. Theron nods, his expression hardening back into the king. Yes, and he has spent years waiting for his revenge, undermining me, discrediting my rule. He sees you as my greatest vulnerability and my greatest strength. That is why he will stop at nothing to break you or break us. The pieces click into place. Seraphine's cold assessment, Valeria's poisoned hints. It was never just about power. It was about vengeance for a brother, using the daughter as the weapon. The political is deeply, dangerously personal. As Theron lifts me to carry me back, I look at the weeping willow one last time. Lysander's grave, the birthplace of Theron's storm, and now a touchstone for our united front. We face it together, I murmur into his neck. His arms tighten around me. The bond echoes with a vow. Together. The knowledge of the past arms us. It turns vague hostility into a map of a known enemy's motives. We are no longer reacting, we are preparing. Theron, with the burden shared, moves with a renewed, focused authority. I, with the full understanding of the stakes, find my voice grows steadier, my judgments more incisive. The braided light of our bond feels unbreakable. Kieran, sensing the shift, makes his final, desperate move. He does not target me or Theron. He targets the bond itself in the most public way imaginable. He calls for a gathering of the packs, a traditional assembly where major grievances are aired before the entire nation. His stated reason is concerns over the royal line and the unconventional bond's impact on succession. It is a masterstroke, appealing to the most primal concerns of every wolf: legacy, strength, and the future. The gathering is held on the great plain below the citadel. Thousands gather, a sea of wolves in both forms. The air vibrates with anticipation and unease. Theron and I are seated on a raised dais. He is in full regalia, the crown of obsidian and moonstone on his brow. I wear the silver gray, my own simpler circlet resting on my head. Our chairs are close enough that our hands can touch, and they do. Kieran steps forward, a grave elder statesman playing his role. He speaks not with rage, but with grave, fatherly concern. He outlines the perils of a bond that prioritizes insight over might. He speaks of the need for a queen who can run with the pack, who can bear strong heirs, who can stand as a martial symbol. He does not mention me by name. He doesn't have to. Every eye flicks to my chair, to my still legs. "We respect the ancient right," booms Kieran, his voice carrying. "But the kingdom's future cannot rest on a foundation of philosophical compatibility alone. The bond must be tested in the way of our ancestors, in the crucible of the pack's will. I call for the challenge of the howl." A massive, shocked murmur rolls through the crowd. The challenge of the howl is an archaic, brutal. The bonded pair must withstand the combined, focused disapproval of the challengers, manifested in a targeted psychic and spiritual howl, meant to shatter weak links. It is a test of pure resilience, of the bond's ability to protect its integrity against direct assault. To refuse is to admit weakness. To accept is to risk a psychic break.
Theron's fury is a silent inferno. He stands. "You dare challenge the bond sanctioned by the heart itself?" "I dare to ensure the kingdom's strength," Kieran retorts, playing to the crowd. "Let the bond prove it is not just a quiet whisper between two souls, but a force that can weather the storm. If it is true, it will hold. If it is not, better to know now than when our enemies are at the gates." It is a trap with no exit. Refusal means losing the people. Acceptance means subjecting our sacred connection to a violent public battering. I feel Theron's hesitation, his terror not for himself, but for me. My mind races. The bond is strong, but it is a thing of quiet understanding, of braided light. Can it withstand a directed hurricane of hatred? I squeeze his hand. I look up at him, and I send every ounce of my certainty down the bond. Not just love, but strategy. We are a territory. We have withstood his knives, his poisons, his whispers. We have integrated his shadow. This is just noise. The loudest howl cannot break a landscape that has learned to stand together. He sees my resolve. The fear in the bond solidifies into a towering, protective defiance. He turns to Kieran, his voice the crack of fate. "We accept your challenge. Let the pack howl, and let them see what true strength looks like." The ceremony is swift. Theron and I are led to the center of the plain, seated back to back on the ground, our spines touching. The physical connection is a conduit. Kieran, Seraphine, and their faction, perhaps a third of the assembled packs, form a wide circle around us. The rest watch, breathless. An elder gives the signal. Kieran lifts his head and howls, a long, piercing note of discord and denial. His followers join. It is not a sound of beauty, but a weaponized wave of energy, thick with contempt, doubt, malice, and the crushing weight of tradition. It hits us. It is like being struck by a wall of ice and nails. The physical world vanishes. I am plunged into a void of screaming negativity. Voices, real and imagined, assail me. "Cripple, weakness, fraud. You will destroy him. You are a burden. The kingdom will fall." I feel the bond under immense strain, the braided light stretching thin, the threads threatening to snap under the pressure. I feel Theron's agony as he bears the brunt, trying to shield me. I cannot fight with his power. I have only my own territory. So I retreat into it. I shut out the howling. I go to the silent places. I think of the shadow of the great pine at dawn. I feel the cool moss of the heart. I hear the patient song of the birds from my window. I hold the image of the braided light, of the willow by the river,
of Theron's eyes when he shares a quiet thought. I build my landscape, stone by silent stone, root by resilient root. And then I do not defend, I share. I push my landscape out, not against the howl, but through the bond to Theron. I give him my silence, my deep, unshakable peace, my certainty in us. I feel him receive it. His pain transforms. His shield becomes a foundation. He stops trying to block the howl and instead anchors us both in the stillness I provide. The bond changes. It is no longer a shield under attack. It becomes the eye of the hurricane, a perfect silent circle where the howling winds cannot reach. The external world bleeds back in. The howl is still deafening, but it is outside. Inside our circle, there is only the steady hum of the bond, stronger than ever, a fortress of quiet understanding. The braided light is visible again, not around us, but within the circle, glowing with a soft, unwavering radiance that pushes back the dark energy of the howl. Kieran's howl begins to falter. His followers waver. They are pouring all their malice into a void that refuses to echo it. They are howling at a mountain that answers only with serene, immovable silence. With a final gasped note, the challenge ends. The silence that follows is absolute, ringing. Theron and I are still seated, back to back. We are unharmed, unbroken. The bond thrums between us, a triumphant, living thing. Theron rises, then turns and lifts me to my feet, supporting me. We stand together in the center, facing Kieran. The king's voice is quiet, yet it carries to the farthest wolf. You challenged the bond with the noise of the past. It answered with the silence of the future. The bond is not weakness, it is the strength that allows a king to hear his people's true needs over the clamor of ambition. It is the compass that guides through storm. It is unbreakable. He looks from Kieran's ashen face to the awestruck crowd. The challenge is met. The bond is affirmed. Let this be an end to it. We are one pack, one kingdom, and we will move forward not by howling each other down, but by listening to the wisdom in the quiet. He doesn't punish Kieran. He doesn't need to. The old lord's power is broken, his vendetta exposed as empty sound against true substance. He bows his head, defeated. Seraphine looks at me, and for the first time there is no calculation, only a stunned, respectful acknowledgement. She sees the territory now, and she knows she cannot conquer it. As Theron carries me back to the citadel through the parting, bowing crowds, the emotion is not triumph, but a deep, settled peace. The howls are silent. The storms, both within and without, have found their calm center. That night, on my balcony, Theron stands beside me. The kingdom sleeps under the full moon. The bond is a quiet, steady song between us. You gave me your silence, and it was the most powerful force I have ever known. I lean my head against his arm. And I gave your silence a kingdom to listen to. He turns me to face me, his hands gentle on my shoulders. Ilara, my queen, my bondmate, my heart, the crown is yours, not by ceremony, but by right. You have earned it with every quiet truth, every act of courage, every moment of unwavering clarity. He doesn't kiss me. He doesn't need to. The bond says it all, a love forged in silence, tested by storm, and unbreakable as the ancient stones of the heart. He rests his forehead against mine, a Lycan king and his queen, bound by something deeper than blood or law. bound by the howling silence that saved a kingdom.